Hello and welcome to this webinar titled Alternative and Rapid Microbiological Methods, Microbiology of the 21st Century, hosted by Biopharma Asia magazine and presented by Benoit Ramond, Head of Microbiology and Sterile Technology at Sanofi. This presentation will be followed by Alternative and Rapid Microbiological Methods, Microbiology of the 21st Century, RM. David Jones, Director of New Products and Industry Affairs at Rapid Microbiosystems. My name is Stephen Edwards, and I will be the moderator. Before we begin, I would just like to inform our viewers that there will be a live question and answer session after both presentations near the end of the webinar. Audience members can send their questions in at any time during the webinar via the Questions tab located directly below your webinar screen, and we will go through these at the end of the webinar. Now, please allow me to introduce our first presenter. Benoit Ramond is Doctor in Pharmacy at the University of Paris in France and obtains a PhD in microbiology. He has 29 years of experience in the pharmaceutical industry. Since 2017, he has been Head of Microbiology and Sterile Technology in Sanofi Group. In his function, he has also had a leading role in the RMM strategy development within Sanofi Group. I will now be handing over to our first presenter. Welcome, Dr. Ramond.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the organization of this webinar. So it is an interesting event and to share with all the attendees. So I want to present you now this webinar relative to alternative modern microbial methods for the 21st century. Next slide, I will show you. So first of all, the agenda of this presentation. In this agenda, I will present you first of all why do we need to implement RMM or our RMM rapid microbial method or modern microbial method. The choice is possible in terms of wording versus the classical method. After, what is the current regulation today, and how to evaluate the best RMM for each application, because number of systems are existing on the market at the present time. The regulatory strategy, because number of documents are existing. We will develop this element and rapidly example of return of experiences. First, I want to go to classical microbial method to show you first of all what are today the pros and the cons and what are the advantages of this disadvantages of this classical method. First of all, in terms of advantages, first of all, they are well tried for a long time, and also because they are part of some in the monograph of Pharmacopoeia in the different chapters relevant to sterility testing, microbial limit count, etc. The assumption is to evaluate one cell, that is one CFU, in the target for these methods, and they are approved by the regulatory authorities because also there are details in the monograph for different pharmacopoeias. Easy to perform generally, and in general very low cost. But there are disadvantages in this companion method. The main one are, first of all, the time to result, because for some methods you have, for the enumeration example, 24 hours to 7 days for evaluation. It depends on the different organisms you expect to evaluate for this method. Sterility testing example, minimum 14 days, and identification also a number of days for evaluation for the identity to the species level. There is also a lack of reactivity sometimes because you have the time to develop for the result. You have not proactive enough potentially to after perform root cause evaluation and CAPA for your system. Sometimes also sensitivity is limited for some methods, relevant for example to low growth organisms. Sometimes it's not evident to evaluate some low growth relevant to water system, example for gram-negative, Methylobacterium mesophysicum. Some species can grow not below 7 days using the classical media. Also, you have also sometimes some viable and not culturable organisms. That will be also one element of question today we have also to face with the authorities. Also, other disadvantages, again, are existence of confluent growth. Sometimes it's difficult to interpret. You have the confluence of different colonies. Standard plate also can involve also some count error by the operator. Human error is also a potential problem for some issues. Example, there's some element of the limited of the standard plate here with 18 and 100% versus pharmacopoeias, and it is because some limits in some number of CFU between 30 and 1 CFU, there is some limits. Our need of additional subculture, for example, sterility when it is positive, sterility testing, you need to have also some subculture to perform sometimes to evaluate if there is really a viable contamination or not. Data integrity is also a key point because with this companion method, it is manual system, so we need to have sometimes some question relevant to integrity, data integrity of the different results. The element also of interest here are some last also can we say the element of cons. It is sampling error sometimes, or again human concern, and some dilution error, some plating error, and incubation error again. That will be also major point here for this during investigation, and also during inspection. You can face to this question with authorities. Difficulties also can be also facing when you have some specific organism to evaluate, and sometimes it's difficult to evaluate. For example, some microorganisms when they are in stress condition, or also viable and non-culturable, as mentioned before. Number of applications exist for this compendial method. Classically, for enumeration, you have bioburden evaluation testing, including different applications with non-sterile product and sterile product relevant to microbial limit test, but also water testing, etc. So number of applications is possible. Preservative efficacy test also is in a group of methods. You have also some specific with presence-absence, are typically sterility testing, but not only, because you have also a presence-absence with some specified organisms for non-sterile product. All these methods are detailed in the different pharmacopoeia. Versus also this method, you can also have some element of information relevant to identification, or some methods are used, and also you are facing to evaluate species that should be of interest for you for investigation, and you need also to use some method in such way. Now we will to go about the question relevant to a rapid or modern microbial method. Is it a myth or a reality? That's a big question, and we are facing that for a long time ago. Is it an illusion for their implementation or not? And first of all, acceptance and implementation of this method continue to be hampered by misunderstandings and eventually some prejudgments by above and following myths, such as our different elements could be made by the different person. That means RMM are there accepted or not by regulatory authorities. That's an important question that some person have to face with that. They will never replace classical method, or that's also another question. Also, they will offer no return of investment, because also don't forget the cost for validation in addition to the equipment. I will see that later on. Also, the data generated from RMM sometimes should exceed the current specification and the limit involving increase also in the batch rejection. That's a question generally we are facing about the myth or reality around this rapid or modern microbial method. Now, pharmaceutical industry, we said they are reluctant to develop a new alternative method, yes or no, because there is some constraint and some myth around that. And first of all, the implementation of a modern rapid microbial method need to be supported first by a pharmaceutical company at the top management because of the cost of that, and also new way of working relevant to the introduction of this rapid microbial method. There is also a fear that rapid microbial method can detect microorganisms that are not detected by traditional method, and also very important this part is the cost for validation. That's maybe too high eventually, potentially, and also we have to think about the return of investment at this level for investment in this such technologies. And also regulatory approbation is uncertain. Sometimes it's a question we are facing about that. Now I want to speak about the authorities. Where are the authorities in front of rapid microbial method? Some authorities, clearly, and we have some information with articles about this topic, are promoting and encouraging the use of this method. For example, FDA, EMA, MHRA, and NSM, but other ones also are encouraging that. And the involvement in such initiative also, from the start to the project and guarantee, that's important to contact the authorities when you have a project to introduce. And I will show you in the strategy of validation that it is important to include your validation project with a discussion in earlier stage with authorities. Each regulatory authority has its own approach. Sometimes we have to share the information, but to share also the strategy for the validation and the implementation of rapid microbial method with the authorities. But generally, they use clearly the documents that are existing, example, Pharmacopoeia in Europe, also in US, that gives them some direction about the strategy for validation, for example. And we will see some elements around these different documents that are very important and generally are used by the authorities. Now, concerning where they are, the following guidance are existing with the different pharmacopoeia, as well in European pharmacopoeia with the 516, but also in the USP, but also you have also a very interesting, also important PDA guidance that gives some element for how to manage, how to validate, and what are the application for rapid microbial method. But also FDA with the CBER, we have some elements with some guidance and some element of the strategy proposed by the CBER in the evaluation, but also in the use of this rapid microbial method, and some application are defined also by the CBER. For example, some documents are interesting also to have a view, because it gives you also how to manage also the strategy when you are facing with authorities relevant to their understanding about this different technology. After, what about return of investment? Because it's also a key point for you to manage for this introduction of this new microbial method. Potentially the investment for this modern method should include also different elements. First, the capital cost of the equipment and the different elements you will introduce, but also validation cost. Don't forget that, because it could be high level, and when there is a project like that, validation is a high cost level for that. Return of investment and the payback should be evaluated and calculated. It is important to define after for the strategy after for you for the application. And potential for the cost saving and rapid microbial method, you should include the different elements. Some examples define the decrease of cycle time and the warehouse cost for downtime, to decrease also the QC labor and when automation are in place for these technologies. Early detection of contamination and remediation, that's important also in terms of investigation when there is a failure investigation to manage. Increase production and yield and flexibility, reduction of backorder and fry cost, and also another one, the last one, the better protection and good image of the company. I remember when we present some project to the FDA and to European authorities, really, when we discuss about rapid microbial method, it gives a very good image of the company when we present the project. Now concerning the reality. First of all, pharmaceutical industry are moving very slowly in this direction. We have some number of publications around microbial method, but not so much compared to companion use today. And some microbial method equipment After acquisition could be not in use in routine ways, only managed in terms of feasibility, but what about the in routine use? And sometimes we have also some equipment that are not on the market at the end, and the supplier removes some product from the market. Another point also of interest about that is what they can allow, or they can allow different elements of interest for you, relevant to automation of the QC microbiology operation. That's important also in terms of managing the operation for the QC control for microbiology. Automation of the reading also, analytical traceability, and very, very important, and quite now a very important topic for inspection, data integrity. Because with Compendial it's more or less manual operation, and that's data integrity. When you use automatic system, you have more data, and you have also many things to present with the inspector. Support also of data interpretation, when sometimes some system allows that, with some curve or some trending system can be possible also to attach to the system. Some methods also are considered to be more sensitive than the Compendial one, and that's why also sometimes it's also pushing by the authorities to go in this direction. If we continue, what about the regulation? I present to you, there is a number of documents in the Pharmacopoeia and also PDF. That's the 4 examples I present here. These documents, here rapidly, this document, I will go rapidly, not in detail, but give you the key points of this document. Generally, in the different Pharmacopoeia, example here you have European Pharmacopoeia 516. In terms of major points, you have a qualitative test presenting in this document, but also a quantitative test for enumeration, and also some elements relevant to identification. About not the detail, but the summary about this one. First of all, for validation requirements, that's an important chapter in European Pharmacopoeia, but also you have the same parallel in USP and the PDA. Generally, 3 parts are important in terms of validation. First of all, performance and qualification of the equipment with the alternative method by comparison to the pharmacopoeian method. Second level is to evaluate the interference of the product. For each product, you need to evaluate by the application that interference potentially. And the final one is to analyze the number of products in parallel with the 2 methods, that means the Compendial and the rapid microbial method. You have served the different applications relevant to qualitative test. What are the key points? First of all, you need to evaluate the rate of false positive and false negative in the performance of the evaluation of the data for the qualitative test. Important to use the standardization of the inoculum, because you have to go to low inoculum, and that's why it's important to have a good standardization of this inoculum, and it's relatively an important point for the validation at this level. And also important, the number of replicates. It's a key point because when we discuss with many authorities, they are quite in agreement in terms of number. The minimum number of replicates must be 5. Below 5 is difficult to after have the agreement of the authorities. So 5 replicates is the minimum. I put here for the limit of detection for qualitative test, but we have the same parallel requirements for the quantitative test with the limit of quantification, LOQ, with also the 5 replicates. For the quantitative test, in addition to the LOQ, you have also different suspension to prepare, at least 5 in the European Pharmacopoeia, with some details in this document. And also, important, they precise also the variable estimation, not less than 70% for the recovery. That's the table. They have a table of comparison. What are the different parameters to perform for qualitative, quantitative, and identification relevant to accuracy, precision, specificity, limit of quantification, limit of detection, linearity, range, and robustness. And we have quite a parallel also table also in USP and PDA. After about that, we have the USP, equivalent also approach in terms of different elements for application. For the key point, again, for validation, you have 4 parts in summary with the instrument and equipment qualification, including the PQ, but also validation of alternative technology. That means to compare also with the companion method, and the method suitability versus application, including the inhibition enhancement properties of your product. And at the end, the equivalency, that means to test the number of batch by comparison with the rapid microbial method and the companion method. For qualitative test, first of all, are equivalent to European Pharmacopoeia, 5 replication again, and low level of inoculum. They precise here in the document, you have to be in the range 5 to 0.1 CFU per inocula. That's important because you have to also again to have good preparation of this inocula to be sure it is reproducible. Again also equivalency by using presence-absence of results, that's important also. For quantitative test, the enumeration will be done, and important to have equivalence using precision and linearity, that's the precision, the details from the USP. Again, the table, there is some differences here, but globally, the strategy could be managed and explained to the authorities with justification. The PDA. PDA also, the same way, qualitative and quantitative test, with the 2 major applications using rapid microbial method. For concerning the validation, because again, is a key point, generally 4 parts here for PDA. First of all, pre-validation activities, that mean proof of concepts about the method, new method with superior capability and return of investment. Validation of the equipment, including the traditional element up to the performance qualification, and validation of the alternative method technology, and always by comparison to the companion method. You use the different validation parameters to be evaluated, and including the equivalency at this level. And you have to use a statistic for each parameter. So statistics I don't detail before in USP and also in European Pharmacopoeia, but statistics are required in all the documents. And that's important to define the strategy for statistics for the interpretation of the result, also for your briefing package when you will present that to the authorities. Qualitative test, limit of quantification, they make some element a little different because they go very low level here for the qualitative with 0.05. When we discuss with the different authorities within Sanofi, clearly 0.1 CFU at this level is sufficient, but we need to demonstrate the 0.1. Quantitative test, enumeration. Here in the PDA you have eventually flexibility, but in the high level with 5 to 10 replicates. 5 replicates when we discuss with authorities are enough, and the 3 documents are harmonized in terms of 5 replicates. Is the range of the concentration, maybe between here for quantitative 0.5 to 10 cells. It's relevant to limit of quantification again. The table again for the different parameters. As I said before, a little different from European Pharmacopoeia, but it is equivalent to PDA. PDA and USP. Now the technologies. You have different management of the microorganisms, or different from life to death in terms of status of the microorganisms. And here I give you some elements relevant to the different possibilities of the stage where the different methodology can be applied. So I don't go in details here, you will have the slide to evaluate that and to have the information for you. Here I put here some example of technologies possible based on different elements. For example, with for growth-based technologies, you have 3 major groups with chemical byproduct here evaluation, intrinsic fluorescence and extrinsic fluorescence technologies. After, for the growth independent technology, You have here two big groups with viability-based technology and cellular component and artifact-based technology, and in each one you have different potential applications possible. Well, I don't go in detail here. I will focus more my presentation with the validation strategy. Now concerning the key topics for the rapid microbial method versus the classical. First of all, what is important is the question relevant to the signal. Alors, in companion method, you have the CFU, or the gross presence of absence of contamination. For example, here for quantitative tests, we have directly the CFU with the plates. So it is the different signal visible for the on the media with the plates. Some technology use not CFUs, but use some specific signal. Example, RLU for some technology, and you need to eventually to evaluate that and to compare. That's also the support of the supplier for this approach to have also demonstrate the equivalency in terms of signal versus the CFU. Alors, also element of importance, alors analytical parameters should be evaluated during the validation approach. Alors, remember the table from European, USP and PDA, and the different parameters should be evaluated dependent of the qualitative or quantitative. But what is important, alors, a key element of evaluation for quantitative is the limit of quantification, that's a key point, and for qualitative test is the limit of the detection. For example, for the LOD, for qualitative test with sterility testing by comparison compendial and rapid microbial method, detection of one viable cell organisms should be a target for the validation perspective. Our global strategy. Our global strategy should include different elements. I put here what is today a strategy we have within the company. That means, first of all, multi-site approach, because don't forget that of the cost of this validation. That's why you should have different laboratories. It's important to have the approach for not only one site, but multi-site approach. Selection strategy, important to evaluate for your application what should be the best equipment that you will apply for this application, and justify this selection. Return of investment, that's also calculed to perform. Regulatory strategy, and also in parallel that validation strategy. These 2 points will be discussed with authorities at an early stage, because it's important also to have a return from the authorities, because they can give you some advice, and they can also send you back some questions relevant to your strategy. Our multiple site approach, the interest is to reduce the cost and to have one site, I call it master site, that will perform the different level of the validation. I call it PQ1 for the protocol and testing relevant to the validation of the new technology with the different parameters by comparison of the compendial. The PQ2 phase 1 relevant to the protocol and testing relevant to the interference of your product when you will validate for the product. And the last one will be the phase 2 with the equivalency study. After, if you have other site to be also concerned by this multi-site strategy, this learner site will not perform the full package, but only a minimum number that will be the last one, but you need to discuss this topic and this strategy with the authorities before. Always you need to document. The data will be managed also, and you will be also have some inspection with authorities to evaluate that, and also transfer the protocol directly to the learner site for sure that he will have all the information needed to perform after the final step for the learner site. And submission and will be after relevant to the global strategy. Alors, selection of the strategy relevant to the selection of the techniques and the equipment or the method for your application. You need to evaluate, before the feasibility studies, you need to evaluate the different potential equipments, perform potential feasibility studies, and perform also a risk evaluation by different criteria, and after to succeed to obtain one system that will be the system you will manage in terms of evaluation for the validation. I give you an example of the different elements that will be evaluated for this evaluation for the different equipment versus application, in terms of technology consideration, in terms of nature of the measurement, qualitative, quantitative, or identification. The unit of measure compared to the CFU, if there is different signal, for example. The impact on product and process attribute, the method viability, the potential false positive, false negative result, when you have also eventually some scientific articles that exist on the technology that you want to test. Test sample requirements, the computer system security, and also the management of this validation of the computer system. Alarm notification when it exists, and also some regulatory acceptance if there is some article from some regulation. Example, FDA makes sometimes some article on some different companion, some rapid microbial method. We have some example. That's an example of selection strategy to have a sort of risk approach, and different attributes will be listed, and you make a quotation and evaluate each element, each attribute, to have a further final note for each equipment, and after to test the three last one, and after to have at the end of feasibility studies one equipment to be selected. Return on investment are important to evaluate because the top management will ask for the return of investment. There is some formulation that exists, or you have this formulation here. That's important to also have all the element of information to evaluate the return of investment, and to also have the end the payback for this for you for the investment perspective, and that's the formulation for the payback. Now, regulatory strategy. I consider here two elements: the US with FDA regulatory strategy, and the one for Europe. They are a little different, but in parallel of that, whatever the case, your strategy will be in the same direction. Regulatory strategy, what is important is to understand the current regulatory expectation. That's why it's important to have early stage discussion with the authorities. And the recommendation is to have an open dialogue with the authorities, and to rapidly to send them back some briefing package, to have some meetings face-to-face or by phone call, and that's easy to organize, and generally they like this kind of discussion at the earlier stage. What is important is to propose the method you want to apply, and describe and justify why, to also define also what will be the products that will be concerned by this validation. After, to define the strategy for this validation, the acceptance criteria are important, the LOD, the LOQ, how you will manage it. Remember the replicates, the number of replicates, and also the population you will include in your validation. The statistic, that's an important element, because you will be challenged by a statistician, also by the different authorities when they have, and they will evaluate how you manage the interpretation of your data. Regulatory submission, also requirements, and internal strategy will be important to manage, because they are different from US and Europe, but also with other countries. And also the transfer of strategy will be important to manage if you have a multi-site approach, to define this strategy with the authorities. And the list of questions will be also managed by a discussion in the briefing package. Here is the global, what I give you here is a schematic of this strategy, exactly what I said just before. It could take some weeks or some months for discussion. It's important to have this strategy at an earlier stage, before to perform the real validation runs. Alors, after relevant to the regulatory expectation, or it could be different from FDA and USP. That's why it's important to know very well what you want exactly in terms of strategy for regulatory perspective. Alors, the reference to FDA, CIDR could be different a little more, but by FDA, generally, you have different possibilities, and generally, you can go to comparability protocol, but eventually, it should be facilitated, but eventually, it's not easy at the early stage to define this comparability protocol. And also, typically, and we choose generally this solution to go to the prior approved supplement, because generally it's also facilitated after the dialogue with the authorities. For Europe, simply you have variation to perform. It's a type 2 variation in Europe, so you need to submit that in terms of type 2 variation. There is an equivalent one by EMA when there is a centralized process, but I never tested before. We use simply internally the type 2 variation for the different dossiers we propose. For the regulatory strategy, comparability protocol is very important, and should be also easier approach, but not required. I will go directly after to the schematic of the validation strategy to describe the different stages. First of all, you remember I give you some elements relevant to the prerequisite, including the proof of concept here, to evaluate what should be the application you will use on the equipment versus your application, which one equipment, which one method, including here the feasibility studies. After assessment of supplier compatibility, important also to have a good relationship with the supplier. That will provide you also some information and also eventually some document and some report on the equipment and on the applications that are existing or some scientific articles. It's important also to introduce that in the list of reference when you prepare the briefing package. What is also interesting and important to manage is what are the responsibilities in terms of validation and deliverable for you versus the users and the suppliers of the method and the equipment, and to define clearly what you will be prepare for your application and what should be the supportive of the supplier relevant to that. I list here some elements here from the validation deliverable that are relevant to the users and the other ones that are relevant to the supplier. And both are sharing together. That's why it's important to manage a new technology like that with compared to compendial with the supplier of the technology. Here is the strategy of validation. I define here the different stages. Internally we define 3 stages for this validation, and at the end the report and the data. With the PQ1, the first one is a validation of the method itself. That means to evaluate with the different parameters the validation of the method by comparison to the compendial method. The second one is the product. Also to evaluate this product, what it is of interest is to select after with the different also parameter again for the product what should be the result you will obtain. What it is important at this level not to forget also the LOQ and the LOD for the product evaluation. At the end you have the PQ2 phase 2, that will be the comparative study and or the equivalency study. Important to test a number of batches, and the minimum should be defined relevant to the batch number per year you will perform for your product, and you need to justify the number minimum you will present to the authorities by comparison to the rapid microbial method versus the compendial method. And at the end, validation report with the data interpretation. And that's important to select and to have the different parameters, including here the strategy for the statistic approach you will apply. Generally, the authorities are conservative in terms of statistics, and when we discuss this topic, sometimes we try to introduce modern still statistics, but they are quite conservative. That's why applying the different European or USP strategy for statistics should be enough to present to the authorities. Here it's an example, relevant to sterility testing with PQ1, PQ2, phase 1 and 2. PQ1, you need to define here the number of series you have to perform, the famous 5 replicates, but also the different population. Here we introduce, for example, as disable for sterility testing, 5 replicates, and a number of species. When we speak about the different microorganisms, it's important to introduce, the traditional one from the pharmacopoeia, because it is a reference by the companion method, but you need to introduce a significant number of organisms from your environment or for some failure investigation. Some isolates are important from local isolates. For PQ2 phase 1, that means for the product evaluation. Again, generally you have 3 series, you have a number of batches to be performed. Again, 5 replicates, important to introduce here. We define here to determine one population. The discussion with the authorities was positive in this way, in this direction. But important is to introduce also the limit of detection at this level. And also to test different organisms. Important here to test the worst case organisms from the result you obtain from the PQ1. That means you will test, for example, low growth organisms because potentially they have in worst case condition. And after test the number of batches, that will be relevant of the number of batches you have a year for your product. Here, example here, we introduce 34 batches to be tested. Implementation, I will give you some elements here for implementation, or we describe the strategy, because you need to have to succeed different stages before to implement your method in routine. That's classical, and it is also long discussion with the authorities in such way for the implementation. I don't go in details here, you have the slide for you for information. For the organization and the evaluation of that, for sure it is a long way to go before routine. I took an example for sterility testing. If we consider you start here beginning of 2019 in terms of feasibility, evaluation, etc., discussion with the authorities, up to the final round with the submission, the total time expected today from validation, because huge job for validation, it's around 4 years of work for sterility testing. I speak about sterility testing here. That's why globally, sure it is important here, but you need to really evaluate clearly what will be the budget for you, and what is important here for the budget, it is the cost for validation. Globally for that, for validation, what is important is to define the resources. Resources with different persons included in the resources, but also the cost for labor, for consumable, for different analytical elements to support on different contracts. The different time and total, how I explain here, total is around 3 to 4 years for sterility testing method to be validated. And also in parallel of that, you have discussion with authorities, different stage, early, but also during the process of validation. In terms of conclusion, what should be the perspective of rapid microbial method for this century and the next one? First of all, what is important? More and more we will go to the real-time microbiology. I don't detail here the different methods, but for sure, real-time microbiology will be for the future key element of implementation to give more data and more also element for you for interpretation of the risk for your process and your product. That's why it will growing more and more. Because also maximum time reduction will be important between sample and collection and data interpretation for you. Detection of segment and segmentation of the particle variability should be that. Or when we speak about real-time microbiology, we don't speak only about in-process control, but also control for the environment. That's very important, or both for air and also for water system. And more will be challenged by the authorities to have more and more real-time data for that. Also important for the regulatory perspective, they are very favorable to introduce this kind of technology, relevant to FDA and European authorities. And rapid microbial methods are not an option for microbiology, but there will be a development for the future, and potentially more and more we will have some element in the pharmacopoeia that will define some methodology clearly to be applied for different applications. And the key point for their implementation will be the discussion with the authorities at the early stage. That's very important, but also to prepare risk assessment and the best shot for you relevant to the evaluation. Define also a strategy for validation. That's a key point also to discuss with the authorities, including the regulatory submission. And finally, define also and justify the cost, because return of investment is quite significant. That means it's important also to have this data, and this also strategy is important to be defined at earlier stage also. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Benoit. Now I would like to introduce our second speaker. Our second speaker is David Jones, who has more than 20 years of experience with rapid microbial detection technology, laboratory instrumentation development, and laboratory management. He is currently Director of New Product and Industry Affairs at Rapid Micro Biosystems. Prior to Rapid Micro Biosystems, he was with Wyeth Pharmaceutical in Ireland, where he was Manager of Microbial Test Technologies at Wyeth, where he was responsible for the introduction and validation of new technologies to improve microbiology and molecular biology QC quality and efficiency. The role has also included running the facility's routine sterility testing unit. I will now be handing over to our second presenter. Welcome, Dr. Jones.
Thank you very much to everybody, and very good presentation from Benoit, and hopefully we can answer some of the sort of top-level discussion points he put in with specific regard to a colony counting technology. Rapid Micro is a company that's really dedicated to pharma microbiology, and we have a vision statement that the company lives by every day, and that's to be the trusted standard in microbiology automation, creating operational efficiencies, and enable our customers to deliver essential healthcare products. And that is really something that we follow daily. So going over the technology for the Growth Direct, we basically have two product profiles. The first is to deal with environmental monitoring, and the second is for bioburden filtration. And both have a cassette which is universal between the two. The EM cassette is effectively the same size as a contact plate in terms of the surface area capture, and the bioburden system has a dedicated funnel for filtration and then membrane transfer to the agar puck in the plastic container. Traditional media are used, so we have TSA LP80 and TSA LP80HT for the EM, and for the bioburden we have TSA, SDA, and R2A as the three main components. Labels are attached on the back for sample ID and for giving every cassette a unique identifier, which is tracked through the whole forensic system on the machine to ensure there's no conflict or loss of integrity of the sample information. Effectively, the base of the technology relies on a non-destructive method for illumination of the organisms on the cassette surface. Every 4 hours, the cassettes are taken from the onboard incubation system, so all the incubation is automated. And the blue light illuminates the microcolonies. The microcolonies, if present, fluoresce in the green, That's captured by the sensors, put onto a CCD camera, and the positions of each colony is identified by a matrix of pixels on the membrane surface. Series of images we have below are effectively what the camera sees, and this is the growth of ABRAS. And every 4 hours we take an image, and you can see by 16, 20 hours, a very small colony is being detected, and as it grows up, each of the images gets bigger with the specific colony growing. If there happens to be any fluorescent particulates on the membrane, they don't change size, so they are excluded from the algorithms as we look for growth in either intensity or dimensions on the surface. At the end of the incubation, as part of the validation, as we'll describe later on, we have the count from the system, and we have the ability to count the full-grown colonies on the membrane, and we can verify that the human count are equivalent. So that's the basic technology. Data integrity, as Benoit mentioned, is a big hot topic at the moment. Over the last 4 years, there's been a big increase in the number of warning letters sent out to companies, which include the phrases of data integrity issues. And those have been mainly in the chemistry area, but they have now been moving across into the micro area, primarily with the integrity of the count and transfer of the data to batch records, etc. And it's the thing that's been given the name 4 eyes, so it's basically requiring an initial read and a verification of the read to be performed by the technicians. And that, of course, has a knock-on effect for timing and staff requirements. The basic summaries of the data integrity is to make sure that the counts, initially the incubation and sampling of the test unit, and the incubation followed by the counting of the colonies, and then transfer of that information to the batch record is controlled, and there's no opportunity for any mistakes to be made, shall we say. And as a company, we've really focused highly in on this area to make sure that, as far as possible, the automation of the cassettes and the counting and the data transfer are fully automated and secure. So nothing can be modified on the system, all the databases are secure, and if anything is removed from the unit, then the cassette itself cannot be reloaded to ensure that nothing can be changed during the incubation process. Integrating the system into LIMS is also a big part of that whole process, and we've worked with a number of different LIMS suppliers, and for a number of those we can then distribute the work list from the LIMS system to the Growth Direct system, process the samples, and then send the final data back to the LIMS system without any manual input in the process, and no opportunity for any modifications to be done. So that covers for the metadata as well as for the actual CFU counts. As Benoit was mentioning, there's a number of changes in the TR33, the 1223, and the 516. They've been sort of leapfrogging each other over the last 20 years, but it seems to be about a 10-year cycle for updates. And the Pharmacopoeia have done a really good job at keeping pace with changing technologies, and the Pharmacopoeia seem to react quicker and implement change than the pharma companies themselves can do in terms of implementing new technologies, which is something to be said. The TR33 had a focus in on the automation and talking about compendial methods, and the phraseology of automated compendial method was inaugurated back in 2010, I think it was, for the last issue of the TR33. or 2013 rather. And the text was really around the fact that if you're doing a compendial method and you're automating it, then a reduced validation and verification was required to just require the accuracy and precision to be performed for the analytical side of it, and then follow on with a method suitability for the specific application in the facility. 1223, the latest issue of that in 2015, that also took it a little bit further, talking about the if you're using and you're putting in an automation for the counting, then only the implementation of the enhanced method for the detection of the colony growth, only the detection capability of the method requires validation. That again is part of the analytical validation, and then a method suitability for application later on is needed. We have a paper that's been published in the PDA journal where Tony Kandel has really outlined the rationale for the growth direct being defined as an automated compendial process. And that was published in 2017. In 516, one of the big changes I had in 516 was to really emphasize that the supplier should perform the large validation effort, prove the method is robust, and then have that available for any customers of the system, who then only have to do a subset of the main validation to prove that they can duplicate the findings from Rapid Micro, and it can minimize the validation required. And that text was actually removed from the latest edition. Oh, sorry, where are we? This is 516, okay. And there was also some text in the 516 about the ability to use a compendial method up to an endpoint and then use a rapid method for a final detection. So that would be growth-based, and then some other alternative method like an ATP estimation to prove a positive or a negative. That was actually taken out of the 516 in 2013, but was moved across into the EP 2627 for cell-based methodologies. As a company, we are very aware that involvement of the regulatory bodies is key to facilitating the validation and acceptance of technologies. And over the last 8 to 10 years, we've really made it a strong effort to talk to as many regulatory bodies as possible and make sure that they're comfortable with A, the science behind the methodology, and B, the actual validation strategy for automated compendial. So really over the last few years, we've had 4 visits to the FDA, 2 to the MHRA in London. We visited the Irish Medicines Board, and we've also talked to the people at the Paul Ehrlich Institute with regard to the technologies. And in all cases, we've had a positive response with regard to the phraseology of automated compendial and the reduced requirement for validation. So we just talked about that one. So I'm going to run through some of the validation data that we've generated in-house for some of the applications. As Benoit showed, the table of the different requirements for a quantitative test. As a rapid method, we're using is a quantitative method, not a presence-absence method. So really following the guidelines in the pharmacopoeia, we've done 10 replicates of each sample. We've done a dilution curve of different concentrations. The samples are incubated and counter and also incubated separately for a control method. And then at the end of the incubation, the plates from the colony counter are taken off. They're read by 3 separate analysts and compared to the counts from the system, which is the main part for verifying the accuracy of the software. And then the value from that is then compared to the control method, which is the compendial method supplied by some of the market leaders in the world of normal Petri plates. So we've got some data here. So this is the distribution with the growth direct count on the y-axis and the mean of the human reads on the same cassettes. And you can see that with the 10 to 1 count levels at the bottom end, there's a very good correlation. As you get to the higher counts, the human eye and counting abilities tend to distribute out. And this is the range of the organisms that we were using, which are the standard USPs plus some environmental organisms to verify performance across that. Now, with the technology, we also have the ability to actually look at the images ourselves and score each of the colonies as they develop and verify that what we see on the screen is exactly what the computer software calculates. And when you put that into position, we get a much better straight line with very few deviations, and really emphasizes that once you get up to this, the growth direct is much more accurate than the human eye at being able to enumerate colonies. So the gold standard of the Petri plate is not as golden as one would hope. If we move on to the accuracy and precision side of things, we've done a range from 1 to 750 colonies, each 10 reps, and those were run on all the main media that we have in-house. And the correlation that we get, so as you can see here for the low counts, the mid counts, and the high counts around 100. We only go up to 100 in this situation because counting above 100 on the manual plate is very difficult to do. But as you can see, for the key methods for the bioburden and for the EM, comparing to Milliflex and the other suppliers of EM media, the correlation is very good around the 1-to-1 line, and this line represents the 70% mark. So you can see that everything is above the 70% mark. So analytical performance is good compared to control compendial methods. And this chart is really a precision profile. So effectively what we have is the precision of the 10 replicates against the concentration at which those 10 replicates were performed. So you can see here that the coefficient of variation when you're looking at around the low 10s to 20 mark is around the sort of 30-35% mark. As you increase the concentration, the performance improves. So the dark infilled circles are the traditional method, and the open circles are the growth direct method. And you can see the distribution is pretty much the same for both methods, and it's around that 10 to 15% mark, around 100. As you increase the concentration, the precision improves, and here where we have the 300 and 750 mark, most of the samples below 10% coefficient. So using the microcolony counting on the growth direct allows a much higher counting range and still gets good precision. Intermediate precision is tricky to do with microbiology because bugs tend to grow and die. So if you take some pools and try and do them on different days, you have issues with reproducibility. The BioBalls, however, have been a game changer in that area, and strongly recommend those for any validation processes. And what we've done here is to take Staph aureus and dilute to 50 and 100 counts each day. We did that for 5 days, and we had 3 analysts measuring each pool each day. So it was a big combination of variables there, and the data was pooled and the CVs calculated over the 5 days. And remembering that even with the accuracy of the BioBall, they still claim a plus or minus 10% error on the count. The errors that we were seeing across the days in terms of precision is very acceptable. So the method is shown to be robust and has good assay precision. all being less than 20-25%. For limiter detection, we've created spikes at 0.5 and 1 CFU for each of the organisms under study, and done 10 reps of each one, and compared that with the compendial method versus our method. And the proof is whether you get a similar sensitivity at 0.5 and 1 across the board for the different organisms versus the compendial. And as you can see here, within the areas of the methods, we get very good correlation at both levels. So we feel confident that we have a limit of detection that's at least 1, and it's equivalent to the compendial method. Linearity range is the other area. So we're looking for good correlations. We've done 2 ranges from 0.5 to 300 and 0.5 to 1,000. Very good correlations in both areas. As you get to the higher counts, the linearity starts to tail off, as microbiology still has the effect on the GD that if too many colonies are there growing too quickly, it still has the colony merging issues. And with ABRAS, which spreads very quickly and merges together, we were able to get good linearity up to 100 CFU for that. So linearity is good. And finally, we thought we'd put a different variable in this one. Limited detection is quoted, but we never. So what we did was take 10 reps and spike 1 CFU to 1 mil, 10 mil, 100, and 1,000 mils. Filter that and see that we got approximately 1 CFU back from that filtration volume. So as you can see here, for the 2 organisms we tested, there's a pretty good recovery of 1 CFU, no matter what the volume that we filtered was. So that area is pretty robust. As we look on to method suitability and validation, as a company, we appreciate that validation and resources can be a real problem for some companies to supply. And to really get to their realization of the ROI that they bought the system for, the sooner they can validate, the sooner they can implement. So we have a whole project group involved in that area, and we work as a project team with your group, and we can fully perform all the validation steps right through method suitability, method qualification, as part of a one-off package that we can supply. And that really, if that works well with the full integration into the company's teams, that allows the bioburden and the EM validations to be completed in 6 to 9 months. So one of the other things, we've got some real data. So we've got a in-process bioburden testing. This was at a biologics facility, and they were looking to validate 7 of their in-process tests. So they followed the requirements of TR33 and USP 1223. This paper is actually available in the IVT journal, and that was published last year. So what they had was these sample points with a 10 mil sample volume, and the process was to determine how quickly they could see all the bugs of interest, so to determine what time they could call their assay, and to verify that there was no adverse effect of the product on the recovery of organisms. So in this situation, we have a chart of the organisms of choice. So they were doing the environmental organisms from their facility and the USP organisms. On the y-axis, we have the number of colonies that were detected, and on the x-axis, we have the number of hours and confirm their presence. So what we're looking at is an increase of colonies with time to reach a plateau, at which point no other colonies are going to grow. And in this case, I think the chart goes out to 36 hours. And the result is that most of these, if not all of these organisms, are reaching their plateau by 36 hours at 35 degrees, or 30 to 35 degrees. So using that, they then moved on to doing the spike and recovery tests for the USP organisms from all of their 7 sample points, and looking at the recovery of 3 batches with each of the sample points and each of the bugs, and with the specification of 50 to 200% recovery. And all of the data with all of the sample points and organisms easily passed the requirements that they had for validating their in-process samples. We move on to EM. One of the main sort of areas that a lot of people get interested in is whether they want to redefine their incubation strategy, and there are a number of options for what strategy to use, and in some parts of the geographies, one method or the other is favored. But looking at the data from the Growth Direct allows a lot more scientific rationale for why certain methods were selected. So we've got some data here where we're just looking at the time to results and how quickly the organisms are detected by the system. The first slide here shows some data on serial incubation with 3 days at 20 to 25 and 2 days at 30 to 35. And you can see the organisms growing up and different populations coming up at different times to reach plateaus, in this case around the sort of 85, 90 hours time. And then on the right we have the single incubation at 30 to 35, and all of the organisms in this case have come up by 3 days timeline. In fact, most of the organisms on the serial start to grow at 20 to 25, so they don't need so much time to get the right numbers. This was doing parallel testing in the facility, looking at all of the different sample points using active air sampling and contact plates, basically lots of 1s and 0s. And if you look at the frequency of the hits versus the compendial method and the Growth Direct, there's no significant difference between those for the efficiency of capture on surfaces and air. The stats around all this sort of thing need to be appreciated, and there's an article by Thomas Murphy in the PDA journal talking about the application of stats at different concentration levels and how to comply with the requirements of TR33. So that can be an interesting read for the statistics side of things. And above we have the recovery with disinfectant neutralization to prove that the neutralization of the media and the disinfectants is efficient. So looking at some of the counts we got back, these were from they were controlled areas but not classified areas, as we wanted to get some counts. So we did the studies in winter and in summer to see if there was any difference. And we're looking at the total number of bacteria counted at 3 different temperatures, 28, 32, and with a serial incubation for the 3 days of each study. So each study was done 3 days. And you can see that there's not much difference between the counts as we attain them. The 28 and the serial tends to be equivalent. 28 is an option as well. This becomes quite interesting as well, because we also did a study with SDA for comparison to the TSA for capture of molds. And if I click the right place, there we go. So again, this is looking at the 3 temperatures on TSA with the yellow, the light blue, and the green, and then the recovery of molds on SDA at 22.5. And it's been reported in the press before that 30 to 35 with TSA may not be the ideal temperature for recovery of molds, and our data in-house seem to show that with serial recovering more than 28, but SDA recovering a lot more. That's a specific mold media. So that should be borne in mind when you're validating and what the importance of mold is in your facility. So in summary, we have good, strong support from the regulators, and we have tried to address and be compliant with the requirements of data integrity, and that has been one of the main strong points of the technology. And we have well-defined validation methods. It should be said that the Growth Direct has been in existence in Gen 1 and Gen 2 since 2007, 2008. So it's been on the market for a long time, and the technology is well known to the regulators. And as a company, we've implemented a number of validations at pharma sites, and they're all running in routine for both EM and bioburden testing currently. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Dr. Jones, for that great presentation. Now, unfortunately, we have run out of time, so we won't be able to continue with the question and answer session. But if you sent in your questions or you have any more to send in, please send them in to stephen.edwards@biopharma-asia.com, and we'll get those answers sent back to you. Before we finish, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our presenters. Once again, that was Benoit Ramond, Head of Microbiology and Sterile Technology at Sanofi, and David Jones, Director of New Products and Industry Affairs at Rapid Micro Biosystems, for sharing their knowledge with us. I would also like to remind our audience that you can view this and other webinars on demand by visiting biopharma-asia.com/on-demand-webinars. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.